here's the thing. Since Continuum began, the basic question of Continuum has always been, how do we become self-limiting? That has always been. It started when I was 5, living in a tenement in Brooklyn. So that's, that was the picture, and that's what started the whole thing. In these times and in these days, with the assault of the environment, the pollution, blah, 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 electromagnetic fields, light, this, that, everything is poisonous, whatever you want to say. Sitting in front of a computer, all that stuff. How do we become self-limiting? So one of the things that I keep looking at is the issue. You can read tissue like a document, for one thing. So you can see, you don't even have to know what the diagnosis is that you look at, you can tell by the character of tissue what is actually going on. Is there responsiveness? Responsiveness means that you can see rippling in that tissue. To the degree that there's rippling, and by the way, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I'm just saying that the research video was done to show the whole notion of fluid expression in tissue and its application, particularly in spinal cord injuries. So in tissue, you can read it like a document and you can see what's going on. So when I ask myself, well, what is creating the limitation now within our tissue organization? One of them is gravity. In order to function in gravity, your tissue organization has to model itself along very specific lines. And we could look at the astronauts in outer space to see that their tissue behavior, their movement behavior is very different because the electromagnetic field is very different. Isn't that true? Mm-hmm. So that environment and movement behavior cannot be separated. So the issue of anchoring us within the electromagnetic field called Earth is really quite critical.
And actually that has a lot to do with calcium, bone density, muscle structure. How we are in gravity really defines a lot of who we are physically.
So what we're looking at is, and we're not arguing or saying that, we're happy that we're able to function in gravity, but I would like to use a term that is to apply to the human organization called varietal. A varietal capability, which means you're able to have many options. We have to understand that movement means flow of information. So having more options for flow of information seems critical at this time. And the implications are just enormous. Because the CSI, Cosmic Scene Investigator, is that's what it means.
Cosmic Scene Investigator.
Wow. So if you watch them, it's a really dumb show. But it is interesting what the CSI do, because they take a little rug fiber, right? Little DNA, little fingerprint, little hair follicle, and they create a picture, right? Don't they? Mm-hmm. So they see that. So I do the same thing. And so what I've been looking at for a long time is in the work of spinal cord injury, you have to look very close into tissue to see what's going on. So because it's not muscular movement, it's not that reflex model at all. It is the movement of fluid that begins the regenerative process. So you're looking at the ripples in the tissue, and as I say, you can read it like a document. So the thing that's important to know is that if the brain does not have a pattern for something, it will not recognize it. It will not. So what I'm going to show you is how to create a pattern in your brain to access this frontier.
The involution frontier?
The involution and the glial frontier. So that because the reason that I say this is that what's so interesting about the glial capability that it's not governed by survival domination. So it is totally creative. Hey, it is totally creative. Meaning that fear and creativity cannot live in the same room. Period. So the more fear there is, the less creativity there is, period. But that's not what's so, to me, I mean, that's very interesting, but what's more interesting to me is engaging at a biospheric level. That, yes, we all are more or less in the United States or Mexico, wherever we come from, whatever, but how about a planet? How about a planetary consciousness? Guess what? Planetary consciousness is this. Interplanetary, I think, is this as well.